Okay, so let's get started. How many people have read the problem this year? Read the case. Who read the case? Ooh, almost everybody. Very, very good. Excellent. What do you think so far? Interesting. That's kind of a euphemism. The only thing, I was the one who made them put the trigger warning on the front because I thought, I don't know what kind of stuff's going on in people's lives, but that just kind of comes out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, I killed my mom. You know, no big deal. What? And it kind of sneaks up on you. You know, it's just like, wow, what a nice kid. Oh, wow, scholarships. Killed my mom. Oh, wow. So I am seeing a lot of awesome presentations this year because there's some interesting characters going on here. Now, how many of you have done mock trial before? Oh, good. Got a couple of experienced folks. Everybody's done it competitively? The majority have done it competitively. Okay, so time to wake up. Yeah, this you really don't want that to happen. The goal is making sure that you don't let that happen during a trial, because that will be awkward. Okay, so for the benefit of the new folks, I want to just talk a little bit about, let's see if I can get my screen to work again. No input detected. See, I was afraid of that. I was afraid that was going to happen. And she's not going to be here, so super good. Well, hopefully she'll come back. She made it work before, so. All right, so for the new people, do you understand how a trial works yet? New people. Who else is a new person? You were a new person. Young man, plaid shirt. Weren't you a new person? Yeah.
Oh, me? Oh, no. I'm new here, but I already know, like, what's happening. I wasn't here last year.
Okay. Okay, so raise your hand if you're a newbie. Be proud. No, newbie. Never done mock trial. Newbie to mock trial. Okay. So, do you know how a trial proceeds? That doesn't mean anything. Okay. Do you know how a trial proceeds? An idea of how it works, but not the... Okay. Yes. Okay. I got some no's. I got some yeses. Okay. So you need to understand how a trial proceeds. And for our team, the very first year that I coached, I ended up with actually using middle schoolers. It was rough. It was a challenge. And I had a coach who was not a trial attorney. And so the coach couldn't tell me what was going on, and it was a rough experience. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my my ballot to come up here on the screen. Come on. Was it RGB1? I love technology. Okay, so it's not going to work. So, well, she was here, she was working on it, and then she disappeared, so I'm not really sure. So, you understand, I want to explain this to you guys so that you make sure that your team doesn't do it wrong. You understand that you have to have 6 to 8 people on a team. Coronado was talking about fielding 2 teams. Okay? So when you have 6 people on a team, it makes perfect sense, right? You have 3 attorneys, you have 3 witnesses. Okay? But when I say there's 6 people on a team, that means that those 6 people do both prosecution and defense. Right? You don't have 6 people for prosecution, 6 people for defense. Because we have had that happen. We've had teams present themselves, and they have 12 people on their team. Okay? That's what that means. Now, when you've got 8 people on a team, that means that you have numbers 1 through 6, say, on your prosecution team. Then you have number 7 and 8 that need to step in and be on your defense team, and one of 1 through 6 drop off. Okay? Everybody has to do at least one side, prosecution or defense. So if you've got 8 people, you've got 4 of the 8 do both sides. They do prosecution and defense. Okay? And then the other 2 switch out. But everybody's got to do at least one round. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
English. So is that inclusive of timekeepers? Or like, can you just have one set timekeeper that just...
That is not include. Your timekeeper can be one of those alternate people, but they don't have to be. Your timekeeper can be somebody that does not compete. That can be totally fine. Okay? And I absolutely, highly recommend to you that you have 8 people on your team. The reason for that is you go to regionals. You do great. You end up going to state. If you've got a 6-person team and one of them says, oh, but my Aunt Susie's getting married in March, I can't go to state. Okay, we only have 6 people. We're out. Because now we're down to 5. You can't compete with 5 people. You've earned a berth at state and you've lost it because you don't have enough people. So this is the time of year when you make sure that you have 8 people, because it's really hard to get extra people in January or February and try to teach them all the stuff that you've just spent all those months learning. Okay? So that is another thing that teachers can be helpful with, but it's really up to the students. You know who's good. You know who's a potential person to contribute to your team. Get them now when you can have them trained up and everybody's solidly doing their roles. Okay? Okay, so student things that you need to know. Let's just open it up really quick to my experienced people. If you could go back and start mock trial over again, what would you want to tell somebody who was just starting mock trial? What are your pearls of wisdom? Things that would be so easily avoided if you had just known. I'm seeing a lot of really secretive smiles like, oh, I can't talk about that. You're amongst friends. You could talk about it. It's okay. Go ahead.
All right. I guess for one, witnesses is you can be a character, but don't be a caricature.
Okay.
Like, don't go too far with it so that it's unbelievable.
Right. But you have to go a little far.
You have to go a little far, just not too far.
Right. And walking that line is tough. Walking that line is tough. But if you're boring, it's terrible. Especially if you're a judge and you have to watch the same thing over and over 4 times in the same day. You want to die. You just want to just rip your eyeballs out because it's the most boring thing ever. But when somebody comes in and they're quirky and they're funny, like I said, I'm seeing a lot of really cool characterization that's possible this year. A big part of this is acting. Because at the heart of mock trial, ultimately, this is a competition. You might be trying your very best to learn the law and to understand how the law works, but you're putting on a show, and you have to remember that. And that is not true just for witnesses, it's also true for attorneys. Because you're being judged by attorneys, and attorneys are very hard on other attorneys, and they're very hard on students who are pretending to be attorneys. You almost need to become attorney in air quotes when you're up there, because that's what they want to see. They want to see Perry Mason or whoever, I don't know, what other, name a fake attorney that you see on TV. Be Law and Order, okay? That's kind of what they want to see a little bit. And you might find that other team being very, oh my gosh, that attorney is so pompous and they're so full of themselves. But attorneys like that. Real attorneys like that. They think that's awesome. That's who they are in their minds. Okay? And so it's a show, and you have to put on a show. And you're getting a score for this. Okay? So new people, do you understand how scoring works? Yes. No. 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 Okay. So.
Josh had the scoring up there, so it should be hard to get it back.
I would like to introduce you to Mrs. Toomey, who's now going to stand up while I go fight with the technology and talk to you a little bit about student stuff. And then we'll talk about scoring as soon as I make it work. Yeah.
Let me address witnesses first, and then we'll talk about the lawyer part. As witnesses, Ms. McAllister will be talking about how you should dress, etc.
Well, we're going to do that at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let me tell you about your characters. As you were looking at the case and you envision a character that you should be playing this in this such and such manner, that's great. It's best if you can think of a personality that that person would have. And could you, without changing anything in the case, you can't all of a sudden make up facts that will alter the case.
Oh, I see.
But, you know, if you want
Cool.
to say
Thank you. Perfect.
you're very fond of, I don't know, Beyonce.
Yes.
If that in no way affects the case, feel free to do that. And play it in such a way that that's your character. It comes out in the 4 minutes that you're up there on the, the 3 witnesses total together get 15 minutes, but it depends on what your coach has decided your character, your witness part will take, you know. So in that time frame of however long you're up there, during direct, don't lose that character all of a sudden.
Because this is, we're going to file this. Stop it. Just do it. Okay. She likes to pretend she's shy. It's not true at all.
So when you play this character, what I'm trying to tell you is that whether you are a witness for your side, where you're very friendly, etc., you know, because that's your lawyer that's talking with you, you need to play the same character when you're being cross-examined. All of a sudden, don't become defensive. Don't become this very unreasonable person to have a conversation with. You should act as if you are a neutral witness. You're not up there because you just want your side. Well, you are, but you don't want to portray that, right? You want to act as if you are there just to give the whole truth, and you are just there just to be impartial. You are there because you are a witness to something, okay? And you want to appear as neutral as possible. You don't want to overplay that part. And you can answer cross-examination questions with a smile, with whatever it requires, if your character requires. But you don't have to get hostile. In fact, the judges cannot stand it if you are a hostile person. All right? There is more ways to get your point across by just being a very reasonable type of person. Does everyone understand what I'm saying by that? Okay? So you will get more points if you can act calm under pressure and not get riled into an argument. And that's what will happen to some of you, especially if you're new, and you're standing up there and this person is cross-examining you, and you will want to get into an argument with them. Don't do it. Okay? Be as calm as possible.
And if you're an attorney, really don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if the attorney gets involved in arguing with a witness that they're cross-examining, that witness just won.
Yeah.
oh my gosh, they just made you try to ask that question that you don't need to go for.
So what Ms. McAllister said earlier, be Law and Order, be Perry Mason. If you've ever watched those shows, those lawyers are calm, but when they, by their questioning, by the content of their questioning is how they're winning the case. Yes? Okay, so you don't need to be mad. Just be, a regular, confident self. That's what will get you. And when the other side says objection, don't speak to the other attorney that has raised the objection. Speak directly to the judge and in a calm manner explain why what you are saying is not objectionable. All right? It is best if you can cite a rule of evidence, like, Your Honor, that's hearsay, rule.
And of course, she means the attorney will do that.
The attorney part, okay?
The witness should
Please,
not
witness,
do that.
don't talk. Unless you are asked a question by the lawyer, don't speak.
Right, and if there's an objection that's being debated, just sit there and be quiet, behave yourself. Don't get involved. Although you should know how, just keep it to yourself.
So I know we're going to talk about attire a little bit later, but I want to talk about how you as a character, so continuing on with the witness, how you can help yourself a little bit. Please remember that if you think about life, real court, when people go to court, they're trying to present their best self, right? I mean, they're not going to be coming in there in jeans. So if you think your part calls for jeans, rethink it. All right? So you can play that character and still be very nicely dressed. I'll give you an example. In fact, I was going to have this student come in today, but she had something come up last night, so she's not able to make it. All right, we had a few years ago a case where this student was, okay, I want maybe the character I should say is this person was into guns, and the case was whether or not she or he committed the crime, being on school grounds, threatening somebody with a gun, etc. All right. Everybody that read the case, what would your character be? Somebody tell me. How would you be up there on the witness stand portraying this character as? If you're into guns and shooting, etc. You like owning guns? Yeah.
I would act very laid back a little.
Okay. How do you think your character might be dressed as?
But when we sing sometimes, it's like the still court.
It's still court, okay. Anybody else?
Not like fancy stuff.
Okay. So one of the things, every single person that played that character that year, other than my team, came in with like a punk look almost, like, in black shirt, black pants. It's still reasonable for court. They weren't going above, over, but they were playing this character as like a punk kid. Somebody who would rebel against the system and wear something that's not, you could still wear, you can still be that punk character, but not have to do that. Okay, so this is what I mean by thinking outside the box. So my student, I said, well, first of all, everybody was a boy, by the way, that character, other than mine. I said to her, let's have you play this. Let's be the girl next door, wear a cardigan, and look as if you would, she was the defendant, so look as if you couldn't possibly have committed such a crime. But at the same time, wow those other lawyers by your knowledge of the case. So they thought, oh, she must be really ditzy. Well, she wasn't. She knew everything about every type of gun. She knew the whole case inside out. They weren't able to trip her up, but she sat there calmly on the witness stand, answered the questions, but in character, like the girl next door. Okay? So that's what I mean by playing a character, you don't always have to think outside the box. Think about your character. Come up with what this person might be like. You can add a few facts. Don't go overboard because that would be unfair extrapolation. All right? Just a few things to make that character you know, to that person. Yeah.
Did the judges like the fact that they were dressed along?
Well, it was a breath of fresh air after seeing all of these other kids playing it the same way.
Oh.
So yeah, definitely they did. She got best witness.
Oh.
Okay, if that answers your question.
So be creative.
Be creative. Come up with an identity for that character. Go beyond the words that are given to you in the case. Yeah.
A lot of the names for this year's case aren't particularly gender neutral, or like they don't seem to be as gender neutral as the previous case.
You got to make it gender neutral.
Make it.
Yep, you got to fake it.
All right.
You know, just say, yes, I am that person.
It always helps my students to come up with a backstory. Well, I'm named Bailey because my parents were drunk on Bailey's Irish Cream when I was conceived. You know, so something they came up with. How did I get this stupid
But you
weird
can't
name?
go too far beyond. But yes,
And
you
they
come up-
didn't even necessarily say that when they were on the stand, but it helped them to have an idea of where did this come from, so that when you get up on the stand, you're a person. You're not just a set of facts. And that was really helpful to them.
Yeah, I mean I think I had something similar. I had a student who was playing a character. She decided she was from Alaska, and it was current then about Sarah Palin saying she could see Russia. And this particular case, they were talking about Russian bears, etc. So she decided she was going to be from Alaska and make that comment about, and I can see Russia from. You know, and of course the judges got it, and they laughed and chuckled and said, "Oh, okay, you know, you don't want to be a comedian, but just throw one or two things in there."
Yeah,
helps.
you want to make it. You want to have it come off the page. You don't want to be a flat character. You want to be a person. That's essential. Can we go over? We're going to go over scoring really quick.
I'm done. Do you want?
No, you just stay right where you're at because you're not done. Okay, so this is a blank ballot. This is how you're scored in a round. And the nice thing about this is we have changed the thing here, so you can see that the lowest score you can get for any particular individual score is 4. Okay, so nobody's going to give you a 0. So don't freak out about that, okay? So the scores range from 4 till 10. It is possible to get every single person on your side to get a 10. That would be 110 points. That would be amazing. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen, okay? And so what you see running down the middle here is how the trial runs. And we start with the opening statement. And each person who gives an opening statement gets a score of up to 10 points. And there's space here for comments. Your good judges will give you comments. Your bad judges will leave it blank. That's a long-standing point of contention. But anyway, you know what? These are volunteers. They're doing their thing. Do you guys know who judges? Do you have any familiarity with who the judges are? They're local attorneys. Okay, for the most part, they're local practicing attorneys. Some of them are trial lawyers. A lot of them are not trial lawyers. A lot of them don't go in the courtroom. They are sitting in their office drafting contracts or something like that, and they're not in a courtroom. Their familiarity with courtrooms is just like yours. It's law and order. Okay? And so just because they went to law school and they have a law degree does not mean that they're proficient in running a trial. And so they're an audience. And you really have no say over who your judges are and what their basis for their judging is. So you need to be just kind of generally pleasing besides knowing your material. So your opening statement gets 10 points. Then we go to the prosecution's first witness. And the attorney gets a score for a direct examination, and then the witness gets a score for their presentation. Now, when you look at this, you think, oh, wow, the attorneys have opening statements, they have direct examinations, they have cross-examinations, they have closing arguments. The attorneys are the real crux of this team. They're what's going to make this team win. And that is wrong. Because I will tell you, after doing this for about 15 years, it's the witnesses that make or break a team. And so you might say, well, I'm just a witness. Oh, no, you're not. You are the heart of the team. You are what makes this team function. Because guess what? Attorneys are boring. There's only so much they can do. Witnesses get to be creative. Witnesses compel the audience's attention. Witnesses, if they know what they're doing, can steer. Like, maybe the witness is better than the attorney. The witness can help the attorney get out the information that needs to be brought out. And a good witness on cross-examination will only help their side. Okay? They will be so convincing, as Mrs. Toomey was talking about, that they hold their character, and yet they only tell things that are beneficial on cross, even though it's not really their questioning. Okay, so and then the attorney from the defense side will get cross-examination points as well, and they get all of these little boxes. Each little box is out of 10 points. So the prosecution presents their whole case. They present their 3 witnesses, and each witness is cross-examined, and then we go to the defense side, and the defense presents their 3 witnesses, and all those witnesses are cross-examined, and then there's the closing argument. Okay, and down here you see there's the total. And then it has a space. Don't go away now. And then it has a space down here for penalty, if any. I want that box to go away so you can see it. I don't know if you can see it very well. Maybe I can move this up. Nope, can't do it. All right, so if you, I don't know if you can see it. You'll be able to see it down at the bottom. It says penalty, if any. The reason, generally speaking, for penalties is time violations. And because, generally speaking, rounds are within, the two-sided scores are within a couple of points of each other, if you have a time violation, that generally makes or breaks the round for you. You cannot allow there to be a time violation. You cannot go over your time. And we're going to talk very specifically about what timing, how that occurs, and how that is accomplished. But you want to be very, very certain that you do not have a time violation. And there's not allowed to be any ties in the score. So I think the most important thing for you to remember about timing is the fact that it's subjective. There are a lot of guidelines provided to the judges for how to score you and what to look for, but it's completely subjective. And it's not like a real trial. Whether you prove your case or you don't prove your case, really, in the long run, doesn't have any bearing on whether you win or lose. It's just scores. And that's what really, really counts in this. It's a game. Mock trial, that's why I said trial by peers. I mean, it's a great experience, and the experience adds to your ability to do mock trial. But mock trial is a world unto itself, and it has its own rules, and it has its own functions. Because trial by peers is more like a real trial. Mock trial is a show. I always equate it to ice skating at the Olympics. If they don't like your tutu coming in, you're in trouble. It's not going to fly. So you have to realize it's all subjective. What else?
Well, some of the other penalties that you could possibly happen, but she's right, mostly it's due to time. So don't go over. When that card says stop, stop. Don't feel like you have to prove a point if you're a lawyer and continue asking questions. Stop. For the love of God, stop, okay? I'm being serious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So this year, is it based on wins or losses or the points?
It's first based on wins and losses, and then it is based on the number of ballots you get, and then lastly it's based on points. That's a very complicated system as well.
Luckily, you don't have to worry too much about that.
That would be Miss McAllister and I that would be working on that. Yeah. Okay. So, and the other penalties that you could possibly have are for your attire. If you're coming in a costume, remember I told all of you, and I've memorized all of your faces. If you come in a costume, I'll know who you are, and I will say, I told you. Don't do it, okay? You could lose a point there. You could also lose a point if your team doesn't follow the rules, like having 6 people, and we don't catch it immediately with the rosters. You have more than 6 people per team during one round. I'm sorry, you could have up to 8 people in the round. So if you're not following the directions, actually in a round it is 6. You could have up to 8 on a team.
I explained to them how they should have 8 and how those 8 are constituted.
And that is a violation penalty, that we would have to take care of. Possible other penalties are you decide in the middle of your, as a lawyer or a witness, that you just needed to go talk to your aunt and uncle who just walked into the door and you haven't seen them in forever. They're like, oh, I got, and go out. No, that would be a no. You can wait, all right, to say hi to them.
Or even just let's say you're up here, you're at council table, and you're questioning your witness, and Ms. Dickinson is your coach, and she's signaling you.
Yeah.
Any kind of across-the-bar communication costs you points. That is not allowed at all.
So your coaches pretty much have to have a poker face, and if they can't do it, put their head down.
I used to just sit like this the whole time.
Yeah.
I was just afraid that I would have not a poker face.
Also, if your friends are coming from your schools, make sure that they're not wearing anything that describes where you're from.
Right.
That's another
because
penalty.
we're trying to keep all of the schools anonymous, to try to keep a level playing field. And so if your friend comes in with, hey, go Coronado mock trial, woo! No, sorry. I wish it was like Saturday Night Live looking at cheerleaders, like they do at the chess tournament. I'm sorry. They frown on that. It's not allowed.
So those are some of the other possible penalties.
So before other people come in, should we open up to questions? Things that I just don't understand how the tournament works. I don't understand anything that maybe you have left over from last year that you're like, that just didn't work out very well. Why did that happen? How things you want to do to make this year better.
Keep in mind this competition is on the 14th of February, right?
Yes.
Valentine's Day. So if you decide, I got a boyfriend now, or I got a girlfriend in January, and you tell your coach, that's not cool. All right? It's not cool to go tell you, I got a date to the dance, and I really need the whole afternoon to get ready. Don't do it. Make a commitment. Stick with it. Like in life, if you make a commitment, you got to follow through. All right? And you've made a commitment to your coach, and that's unfair to them and to your teammates if all of a sudden you decide, oh, no, I got to go to this dance. This guy's been out, this is the first time he's asked me out. No, you go later. Go after the competition as a winner.
Frankly,
it's much more fun to celebrate.
It's way better to do mock trial on Valentine's Day than to do Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day. Just saying. Talk about an overrated... There will be chocolate at mock trial. Yes, and it's better to have something good to do that day instead of...
No, when I made that comment, it came from experience, right, of people telling me those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, we already talked about the whole between... yeah.
Those kinds of things. They're offered several times during the year. Please don't sign up for ones that are on the dates of mock trial.
Right, and that includes, you don't know whether you're going to make it to state or not. You need to put it on your calendar now so that day's clear. And you're not going to accidentally book something that day and then realize, oh my gosh, my biology team is going to Catalina that weekend. Oh, I have to go to that. I can't not go. Not that ever happened to my team.
State? March 6th and 7th. It's in Reno.
Yes.
Yes. Reno. Friday and Saturday.
State is Friday and Saturday. Regionals is just on a Saturday. Oh, good. That made somebody happy.
Yes, me too. Yes.
Yes.
If you make it to state, you compete both Friday and Saturday, or just
Yes. One round on Friday, and then it's 2. Yes, now 2 now.
2 on Friday and 2 or 3 on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
It's only the very last round that is only 2 teams. So you're not, you do 4 full rounds at state. And then a 5th if you're one of the top 2 teams.
One of the best advice I can give you is if you're a lawyer, memorize those rules of evidence. You got to know them inside out. They should be like just study cards for you. I mean, flashcards.
We did
Go walk around. Walk around school every day. Oh, do I know this rule? Yeah. But don't memorize all of them. Memorize the ones that are pertaining to your case, okay? But know them. Know them inside out. Know them by the rule number. Know by what it's, quick one word, like hearsay, 702, here's what it says, and how it applies to your objection. Know it so that you can get up and say it with confidence.
Right. Because those have to be at the tip of your tongue.
The time that you're most thrown off in court is when there's an objection. Because you may have practiced as much as you can, but you never know what the other team's way of thinking on that particular issue is. Okay? So that's when you're thrown off. You have to be able to think on your feet. And as a witness, if you didn't practice for that particular objection, you got to also think on your feet on how am I going to answer that when the actual question, do I have to answer it? How can I answer it in such a way that it benefits my team? So you really need to know your case as a witness inside out as well. Okay?
And that's what your attorney coach is for. Mm-hmm. As you're working through your questioning, you should know what possible objections can come up with each question that you ask and how you would answer those objections. And that was, certainly an exercise that I put my team through, was to have them tell me, okay, here's your question. Why is this question not objectionable? Or if it is objectionable, why should it be excused? Why is there an exception for it? And how can you explain it? Because a lot of times what judges are looking for is they're not looking for you to be able to rattle off what the rule says. They're looking for you to be able to explain why that rule applies to that particular question. Okay? They want to see you think on your feet. They want to see the depth of your understanding of this case. And you have this case for such a long time, there's no reason why you shouldn't know it. You're not doing something that is beyond your capabilities. It's how much time and effort you put into it. And how much and once again, I want to go back to that point of you guys drive this. This is your activity. This isn't so much, it's not like choir where they give you the music and they tell you how to sing it and they tell you what to do and you just kind of go up there and you're the instrument that they're playing. This is you. And once we enter that courtroom, it's so all about you that if there is some kind of dispute, your teacher cannot help you.
You have to be the one to say.
You have to do it. You have to express the reasons for what's going on in that courtroom and why your side is right. Okay? We literally cannot assist you. You must talk about this in front of the judge.
Now, I don't know what your schedules are and how often you practice, etc., but mock trial is not just the time you spend in the class, wherever you're practicing. If you are an attorney with a witness, what says that you can't, in the era of technology, why can't you FaceTime with that person? Why can't you Skype with that person? Why can't you just pick up your phone, and say, hey, let's go through our direct examination together. On the phone. Why can't you do that? That's
can
more
talk about
practice, right?
I had no idea. Really, some people. Well, one school, we actually talk into them. It's amazing.
So I would have students tell me, oh, I can't come to practice. Well, first of all, I would give them the death stare if they gave me such a story.
Yeah, that wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
No.
But then they had to show me and have a parent sign off that they did a phone call and practiced their direct or their cross or whatever it was, or that they gave their opening to their mom and dad.
Yep.
You know, if they're over on vacation, they can certainly take 5 minutes out of their day to do a...
I would have
you
kids
know.
coming into my classroom during lunch
Yeah.
to work together, before and after school.
It just can't
whatever.
be during an actual class time.
Okay, I might have done that a couple of times. We were just working on other things. It was
Okay.
time. There was time. It was competition week. We had to be ready. Other questions or concerns? There are no dumb questions at this point because it's early on in the season.
Yeah, and
So there's
brand new
nothing
for
you
most
can't.
of you, so it's okay to ask.
We only
anything.
have 4 newbies in here. Everybody
Oh,
else is experienced.
well, there you go.
How awesome is that?
That is.
So, new people. I'm going to come around to all 4 of you, and I want you to ask me a question. I'm going to start with you because you know the most.
Oh no, I don't have any questions.
Concerns that you might have?
Are you playing a witness or a lawyer?
Or don't you know yet?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Either case, can I ask you something? Is that hair going to stay that way by the time the competition rolls around?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you.
That
Thanks
was
for the
that was
answer.
what she would consider to be the right answer.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Just-
For nationals,
Mm-hmm.
since I know it's like a week in May,
Mother's Day weekend, yes.
not this year.
Oh, really? Okay. Everything has changed.
Well, that's
Step
a nice
backward.
change.
It's what? When is it? It's the following week?
Yeah.
Okay.
14 to 16.
I don't know what I'm going to be missing that week at school, and my mom would rather me not miss anything in school, so how would that work?
Frankly, if you make it to nationals, that is going to be way more of an educational experience than anything you're going to get in the classroom while you're gone.
Absolutely.
And it's most certainly something that you're going to put on your resume that people are going to go, you went to nationals? Yeah, not, oh, you went to class in May? They're going to say, you went to nationals? So you just tell your mom, I make it to nationals. You're going to be really excited, Mom.
Trust me, I went to nationals 5 years with my team, 5 different times, and it's so much more of a educational experience than anything they could. And if there are AP exams, AP allows you to have a make-up date for AP exams. You don't have to take it on the week that it's given, but you need to let your counselor know, as soon as you win state, that that's happening so that they can take care of it for you.
Yeah, but there's plenty of time because state's
Right.
in March and nationals is until May, so that's,
You don't even get the case for nationals until April 1st.
yeah, so no
All right.
worries there. Oh, way better.
Oh, that's why the reason for the change in the date.
You're next.
North Carolina is the one.
She's got a question.
Thinking about this.
Good.
For being a witness, if your character has like a certain accent, would it be
No accents. None. I forgot to mention that.
Good
No
question.
accents. Let me tell you what happened one year. This is her team against my team. This is the same case. We're talking about the Russian. Her kid, who was playing an expert, decided that he couldn't understand anything because he was Russian with an accent. You see why that makes a difference in the case? Because he's saying that he can't answer that question because he doesn't understand English and he had a heavy Russian accent. My students stood up and objected that that is a version of a costume, so to speak. You are portraying this character in such a way that it takes away from the case.
And frankly, I don't know that was a good objection. I think that my student made himself
Guess
look
what?
stupid.
We won. It doesn't.
Well,
No, I mean the objection. We won the objection.
I know, but I don't know that that's a good objection. I think that when somebody's so stupid as to say, I don't understand your questions, you just look stupid,
Yeah.
okay? I
Don't do that.
specifically told the student not to do that. I said, you're going to look stupid, and he did. And
We've
why
both
didn't
had students
let him go,
thinks
you know?
that-
Let him go. Be stupid. Make yourself embarrassed. I don't care. That's, once again, it's your thing.
Yeah.
It's your thing.
As
Okay.
teachers, we can only do so much, but there will be kids that will do things that
Yeah.
will embarrass us and embarrass themselves, etc.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Next question.
So when you're developing your character for the witness, will coaches help you steer it in the right direction?
Yes. Well, we'll try. Whether you actually do it or not, you know, the Russian thing. Yeah. Yeah, you do.
They're helping you.
Valentine's Day, remember? Oh, it's downtown at the Regional Justice Center, so it's in real courtrooms. And I would recommend that you get your coaches to take you down to the RJC and use the courtrooms before competition so that you're comfortable with that setting. It just gives you another level of confidence. And Judge Barker, who's here today, is in touch with the coaches and will let you use his courtroom to practice in. So we always went down and did practice rounds. So you get used to how loud you had to speak, where you had to stand, how you could move. It just makes it a lot easier.
They
than
are
wherever
very
you're
friendly down
practicing.
there. Judge Tagliati is the chief judge.
No,
And
Judge Barker is now.
Oh, he is.
He
Oh,
is.
See, look, everything's changing around me. I don't like it.
No changes.
Just
No.
changes.
You've got a 5-year-old. All your life's all about changes, lady.
Oh, tell me about it. Jesus.
The issue of the well and whether to ask to be where you should stand.
That really depends on the.
That always depends on the judge.
You know whether or not.
They're not to know that.
Do you?
It's different here than it is in Reno, so if they go to Reno,
Right.
they're going to have to stand.
There's no. It's okay to ask the question. They can be denied. You just need to know that if you ask a judge, may I move about the well? If you have somebody like Judge Davidson, he might say no. And you just got to roll with it.
Right.
Okay?
Anytime you ask a question, you need to be ready for whatever the answer is.
Yes.
And that's true throughout the case. You know, throughout the presentation, when you're asking somebody a question, whether it's in a direct or a cross, listen to the answer. Even when it's you and your witness and you're asking questions and your witness is responding, guess what? Your witness is not always going to say exactly what you have rehearsed. And if you're just waiting for the chance to ask your next question and you're not listening to what that person says, you're going to get yourself into trouble. Because ideally, the other team is listening very closely to what you're both saying. And if somebody has made a mistake or admitted something that was a bad thing to admit, if you're not listening, you're not going to hear that. And sometimes students will ask question number 1. The response is something other than that they've rehearsed. The student then goes on to question number 2, which now suddenly doesn't make sense because the answer to question 1 wasn't what you thought. So listen. And listen to what the judge tells you. Yes?
Are rules about different rules
No. Rules aren't any different. It's just sort of protocol can be different. They're very dependent on using podiums there, and they really don't want you to move much off of the podium. But if you've been practicing your opening or your closing out in the well, then you go ahead and ask if you can use the well. You know? And they may say no. So just be ready for whatever the answer is. Other things about listening. I don't know how to, we just need to pound that.
It's your job, if you cannot see the timekeeper, to ask if if the timekeeper is not where you would want them to be seated. We're going to give them instructions at the beginning that they need to be seated with the jury. But if they're not, if for some reason you can't see, you could ask the judge, "Hey, Judge, may I ask my timekeeper how much time?"
And we're gonna do an actual real timekeeper training today, because I just made that up yesterday.
Okay.
It's going to be great.
But it's your job as a lawyer to ask such a question if your timekeeper is not doing their
Which
job.
I think I'm going to use as a segue to timekeeping training, if that's okay.
Yeah.